Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight at the French Chamber of Commerce. We're really glad to have you. Tonight, we're welcoming two experts, Tin and Stéphane, who are going to talk us about ChatGPT and answer as well the question, is it a threat to our work and our future? Stéphane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexandre. Very short introduction. So I got my master in artificial intelligence in 1993. So that tells you a bit how old am I and how old artificial intelligence is. That's a very new topic. I came here 19 years ago and started my company, System in Motion. We help integrate all these great technology into information system. I'm a board member here at the French Chamber of Commerce, and there are a few EO members here. I'm also a leader member in entrepreneurs organization. Enough about me. Let's try to answer that question. Will ChatGPT put all of us out of work? The story starts in 1598. That guy, William Lee, invented the knitting machine. And he needs funding and he needs to apply for a patent. At that time, both the VC and the patent are at the court. So he goes to see Elizabeth the First, Queen of England. Her answer is no. Why? Because she's afraid that the knitting machine is going to put women out of work because they're making a living by knitting socks manually. So what happens? He goes to see the archenemy of the Queen of England, Henry IV, King of France. And he said, yes, please come. And the guy settles in Rouen, he moves into Rouen, gets a workshop over there, and finally the automated knitting machine is there. So the almighty Queen of England, with all her power, cannot stop innovation. So nobody is going to stop this innovation. No matter how many jobs it destroys, no matter how many jobs it creates, the history tells us that it's going to continue and continue and continue and continue. Because this is how technology has been since 1589 and probably before. So back to ChatGPT. The key question is which jobs are safe from ChatGPT, from ChatGPT and other AI. So I asked ChatGPT about it. It's a bit lengthy. You don't need to read everything, so I'm going to summarize it for you. Ignore the first part. This has been forced on ChatGPT by the lawyers. It says that it cannot predict the future. And then you will see that those 6 sentences are structured exactly the same way. Two types of activities and 3 jobs that are safe. And then, so you only need to look at the left side, anything related to creativity, interpersonal relationship, physical activity, strategy, knowledge, empathy. These are the themes that ChatGPT itself think that is not really good at. And then the last part, again, things that have been put there by lawyers, you also can ignore. It says that basically this is the answer as of today, but it may change in the future. But the last part is very interesting. It says no matter what job you're in, stay up to date on technology advancement and development skills. Know your enemy, that was part of the presentation, know what's happening and keep yourself updated. Very happy to see all of you tonight to try and get a little bit of knowledge and know your enemy. How does it work? So I'm going to give you a very oversimplified model of ChatGPT. So first, a general definition. It's a predictive language model trained to have human-like conversation, also known as a Turing test. Doesn't help much, right? So the Turing test has been designed around World War II by Alan Turing. It says that the day that an artificial intelligence can communicate via chat, that was already the case, and the human on the other side doesn't know if he's talking to a human or a machine, that means now we have an artificial intelligence that can pass the Turing test. So ChatGPT was trained for that and was trying to imitate and please human beings. And everything that ChatGPT does and all its behavior is here to please humans, to have human-like conversation. And then it's a language model, meaning the only thing that ChatGPT knows is language, nothing else. It doesn't know how to count. It doesn't know how to have a logic. It only knows language. And it's predictive. So that's actually the very important word, predictive. What does it mean? I mean, the only thing ChatGPT, again, it's an hyper simplified model. The only thing that ChatGPT knows how to do is to predict the next word in a sentence. and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So for example, if you have a sentence like this, I will see you tomorrow at. There are different words that can come after that. So ChatGPT has a statistical model of what is most likely going to be the next word. So I will see you tomorrow at the. We don't know what's next, but at the. At school, at work, at 8, 8:30, 8:20, 8 o'clock, at 9. So here, these are not actual numbers, but just to give you an idea, this could be the percentage of chance that this will be the next word in the sentence. And then elephant and guns, they are not very likely, right? Unless you live in London, and I will see you tomorrow at Elephant Castle metro station. That can happen. Yeah. So then, based on this model, when you start a conversation, ChatGPT decides, choose actually randomly, this is the next word, this is the next word, the next word, the next word, and everything is generated this way in the model. Okay. Now, based on this model, that already allows us to make some, to give us some ideas of what it cannot do. So first, it cannot say, I don't know. I've tried many times. It doesn't. It doesn't change the topic. Whenever you're having a conversation with ChatGPT, it's always on topic. When you have conversation with humans, sometimes we do change topic. We say, oh, I just remember I forgot to tell you. ChatGPT will never do that. It would always say in a stream of communication because of the statistical model, right? It doesn't quote its sources because they are not stored into the model. It was trained with, we have a good friend, Thomas, who thinks that it was trained with all the knowledge in humanity. That's, I think, an estimation. But it doesn't retain that knowledge. It's just a language model. It doesn't question back. So if I ask you a question and I only give you half of the information and I don't give you one critical piece of information and it's obvious, you're going to ask me for that information. ChatGPT never does that. It never doubts. It's quite the opposite, actually. It doesn't know how to compute. It doesn't show really interest. It's just replying. It doesn't have its own style. Debatable. I think it doesn't create any new ideas. Ching will tell you a lot about ideation later. It never commits. It can make a promise and break it at the next sentence. I've tried that several times. It doesn't predict. Actually, it says, I cannot predict, and it gives you a prediction. But it's not a prediction, actually. Yeah. It cannot not respond. Sometimes humans, they don't respond, but it doesn't. No. It doesn't swear. There was some loophole where you make it to use foul language, but then they plug the hole, right? So these things, ChatGPT either cannot do or is really bad at. Now, what can it do? It can summarize text. It's extremely good at summarizing text. You have 3,000 words, you want 2,000, or you have 1,000, you want 2,000. It's extremely good at that. It can imitate styles. It can change styles. It can rewrite an article with either a very subtle change or radical change in style or in the writing habits. It will reply endlessly, contrary to humans, right? I think it provides the average of knowledge. So people have been using it as a search engine. It's not a search engine because, again, it only has its own model internally. But that model has been trained with so much information that it can give you that information back. So it creates the illusion that it could be a search engine when it's not, because it has read like if you read a lot of books, you have a lot of knowledge that you've internalized. That doesn't mean you can go and quote that book, but that knowledge somehow has been distilled inside the model. It can index text, it does semantic search. So a lot of the search we have today, the latest technology, are like keyword search. So you're all familiar with keyword search, keywords, looking for inside your document, Control F on Word, you find that word. So that's keyword search. Now, words that are similar, you can extend that a little bit. ChatGPT can do semantic search where none of the keywords are present, but it's the same theme, it's the same semantic space that it can explore. It provides general knowledge. It can format the text. So this is extremely useful. If you want text, if you want an answer to be formatted in Excel format or as a table, or you can give it instruction, and it will save you a lot of time into copy and paste by giving you that. It can translate. It's very good at translation in the language that it has been trained to. I don't even know how many languages it can speak, but quite many. And it can correct and improve grammar. Actually, it never, ever, ever I think it never, ever, ever does any mistakes. Grammar, vocabulary, spelling, it's perfect 100 out of 100. Yeah. And then many more. So next question, how many of you are working in corporate? By show of hands, right? So in a corporate environment, there's an important question. Is ChatGPT compliant? So I won't bore you with the details, it's not. It's not because the free version of ChatGPT, what they call the web version, and it's written in the terms and conditions that nobody reads, it's written that the products like ChatGPT and DALL-E may use content such as prompt and these prompts to improve our services. So I'll give you an example. Your head of HR needs to write a letter to fire somebody, and that person used ChatGPT to write it. It's going to be in the next model. So if somebody queries that model and say, anybody that got fired from that company in China, they will say, yes, that person got fired for this and this and this and this reason. So ChatGPT is not compliant. So you have two solutions in corporate. So there is what they call the API version. So this one you need to pay. And this one, the terms and conditions says that your data will not be used. So you're still, the problem when you're in China, you're still sending data cross-border, but at least it's not going to be used for training. And then Microsoft made a deal with OpenAI. So those models are also available as part of Microsoft. So if you want to use in your company, check with your IT department, is it available on Azure? What you can do, and be extremely, extremely careful about where you're sending confidential data. Can be quite dangerous. I think Samsung has a semi-scandal when all their code has been uploaded somewhere and people were able to find it. Yeah. So prompt engineering, who has heard the term prompt engineering? Nobody? Yes, sort of. So that AI speaks English or Chinese or French or Dutch or Spanish. But there is a certain way to speak to it to get it to do what you want to do. So it's called prompt engineering, because the way these large language model work is you give it a prompt and you'll get an answer. Hence the term prompt engineering and the art of designing a prompt. So let's say I'm in a meeting, the meeting is running long, and I want to tell my wife that I'm going to be late. So I could issue a prompt. I could say, tell my wife I will be late for dinner. And then it will give me a message that I can copy and paste, and it saves me time. Right. Problem is, I'm sorry to tell you that your husband will be late for dinner. He did what I asked it. Tell my wife. He's talking to my wife, right? Or it's talking to my wife. So my prompt is not describing exactly what I wanted. So next prompt, how can I tell my wife I will be late for dinner? Now I get a lesson. Yeah. You can tell your wife you'll be late for dinner by sending her a text message, calling her, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm asking you. But again, it's my fault. I'm not specific enough. So now I know. Okay, now I think I understand what I need to ask GPT. Give me a text message I can send to my wife to let her know that I may be late for dinner because of business meeting running long. I'm very, very specific into what I'm expecting. So give me a text message. So the format, that designs the format. It's designed to be a text message. I can send to my wife. So I send it to my wife, so it has to be in my voice, right? And then I had to give it a little bit of context. I'll be late for dinner because of business meeting running long. So this is how you can structure a good prompt. And now I'm getting what I want. Hey, love, sorry to let you know that my meeting is running late. I'll do my best to get us home as soon as I can. Love you. You can take a screenshot, copy, paste in your favorite. So this is to show you how prompt engineering has to do. So of course, it's a funny example. It takes more time to do this than actually type the message. So it's not relevant. But it's to get you to understand that after you've seen that, you're going to use ChatGPT directly like this. You don't go through the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. You go here, and you'll get used to it. And this is, I would say, level 101 of prompt engineering. Get this into your mind of how specific you need to be to define it. There's another dimension that I illustrate. Sometimes we get it to role play. Maybe we'll see that in some of the use cases. All right, now we get into the business cases. I have 10. That's way too many if you want to be home before midnight. So we're going to have a little quiz for you to choose the one you want to. So please scan the QR code. And I'm going to tell you what they are very quickly. So customer service, it's about e-commerce customer service. Business development is B2B cold emailing. IT support is, so you're sending a message for somebody to fix an IT problem. Q&A FAQ is to give you insight based on frequently asked questions. Semantic search is about finding text, not by keywords, but really by meaning. Tone of voice is about changing. By the way, you have two choices, each of you. Tone of voice is about rewriting a blog article to change the tone of voice slightly. Code generation is about automatically writing source code. Product review is about analyzing product review on Tmall or Amazon. Bug report is about sending a bug report to your IT provider. And quality assurance is about automating the design, checklist, and test results of equipments in a lab of electric equipment. People online, you also can choose. 21, I think I'll let it continue and see which one are the top 3. All right, 29 people. Anybody didn't choose yet? All right, so the winner is business development, customer service, and then we have semantic search, tone of voice, right? Anybody wants to change their vote before we start? All right, business development. I'm really surprised. So let's go to business development. So this particular use case is first finding target companies, finding contacts, and this doesn't work with ChatGPT. So this step we're going to skip because fortunately or unfortunately, ChatGPT doesn't know everybody on the planet. Yeah. And then we're going to go with crafting an email message that we're going to send, and we're going to see the power of GPT for crafting that message. So here's the use case. Let's imagine you run a company that sells sustainability services, and one of your customers is very niche. That customer is in blood transfusion equipment manufacturing. Very, very niche. So first question, find me 10 companies. So give me the list of 10 leaders of blood transfusion equipment manufacturing only in CSV format. So then I can upload it in Excel directly. So it's giving me 10 companies like that. And it's in CSV, so it gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10. Compare it with a Bing search using the same words. The first article only has 3 of these 10, and they are kind of in the middle of the text, so I have to copy and paste. The second one, I think, is a sub-article of this one. The third one is completely irrelevant. It's not about blood transfusion manufacturing, it's about blood transfusion market. So completely wrong, because it's a keyword search. Yeah. And the fourth one has almost the same 10 companies, but they are spread into the article. So I have to copy and paste into my Excel file. So that saves me time. That's accurate on something that is really niche. So this is the knowledge that is coming out. But it's not perfect. Somebody from the industry will tell you that it's not exactly the right ranking, and maybe there's one missing, and maybe they are not exactly the top 10. But it's a good estimate. It's a good estimate. No. So next. I want to personalize my email. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, what is the most popular product from? And I put the company name. I got the answer. This is the most popular product from this company. So I have a text that describes most likely what they are building most. And because I'm in sustainability development, this is the interesting products. I want this information to pitch them. Yeah. But then this text is good, but I would like to extract the name of the products from that text. So I'm asking, extract the product name from the text. I give it back the text, and it's telling me it's called Terumo Syringe. So all of this can be fully automated. From the first 2 things that I gave it, 10, and then blood transfusion equipment manufacturer, everything else can run automatically. And then I can put it together automatically. Now, craft an email. So remember when I ask it, give me a text message, now I say it's an email. I give it specific instruction. So as I told you, it doesn't know who is the director of sustainability. So this I need either my own CRM or list or LinkedIn. I need to find it somewhere else. At company, pitch them on our carbon footprint reduction product. Then I put the product name, I put the product description, I copy and paste the success story that I have, and I have my email. perfectly good English, talking to that person. And I call this hyper-personalization, because for another company, for another product, it's completely different. Because it's using all the context that has been built step by step of the product, of the company, what that product does. So you see that here the second paragraph is explaining what this product is doing and why we think it's a good idea to buy our services. So you can do 1, you can do 10, you can do 100, you can do 200. And none of these emails will be the same. So what ChatGPT allows in that case, 2 things. So the first part is it's helping finding this information, putting it together. And it's replacing, so the current stage of mass mailing today is dear, blah, 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 at company, blah, 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 and the rest is the same. And we all receive those emails day in, day out, and when you're used to it, you see that it doesn't really talk about you. This one is going to talk to them one by one, individually, about their company and their product. And the big news, the last news on their website, you can also look at their blogs and get some content and put it in a mix. And it's going to craft an email probably better than most average salespeople. So this is what we can do in business development using ChatGPT. All right. Then, number 2, we had customer service. So customer service. So we're an e-commerce website, and we receive, so there are messages, so there's a chat support, same support as on Taobao or Tmall, and we're getting messages. These messages, we need to do a couple of things. First, we need to understand what the customer is asking us. What do they want? Then we need to extract data from this message. Then we need to look at probably order management system or stock management system. So we need to query an IT system that runs inside the company, and then we need to reply. So this is how it's going to work. So here's the message. I did not receive the order I placed on 3/4/23. When will it be delivered? Pretty vague, right? As a human, you understand the intent. Now, can a robot understand what that person wants? It doesn't say, I mean, it said deliver, but it doesn't really be, I mean, it's not structure. It's really what comes through my head and I typed it. So the first step will be to what we call intent extraction. We have to structure it. Otherwise, computer cannot process that. So again, we're going to start with an action verb. So classify this request under one of these categories, giving an order to GPT. So I gave it 4 categories: delivery date inquiry, defective products, stock inquiry, request return. What is it? You know, only give me the category in lowercase. If you don't have this small sentence, it's going to go into a bit of literature. But I just want that keyword, because this keyword, then I can automate. Then I just put the message instead, and yes, delivery date inquiry. No mistake. This is the intent. Right. So I have my intent. I know it's a delivery date inquiry. Now, what do I need from inside that message? So extract, so we call it feature extraction. So extract from the request the following data if available. So I want order number, order date, product name, quantity, customer name. Maybe everything is inside, maybe not everything is inside. So only list the available data. Don't give me empty data. I give it back the original message again. And it tells me order date. So order I placed on, it was able to understand in a semantic way, this is an order date. And convert it and give it back to me. Okay. So now I know what the customer wants. I have a piece of information. Because we're in a chat, actually, I know the customer, because that person is probably logged in into my e-commerce or anything else. Then I can query. So this is classic classic IT. And I get the answer. So, sorry, yeah, I get the answer. Delivery date is on 9th of April. Now I need to craft an answer. So same thing as for the email that we saw before. I want a nice rounded message. So craft a polite response to the customer request, original request, with the information, deliver it, and ask if they need anything else. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I didn't ask it to do that, right? It just came out naturally. Yeah. Your order was scheduled to deliver, blah, blah, blah. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused. Again, I didn't ask it to do that. I just asked it to be polite as a customer service agent, right? Is there anything else we can help you with? Right. So that's it. So from original request to response, we can fully automate it. Something I forgot to ask you, so I forgot to tell you that was true also for the first one. So all these use cases are with untrained model. So we just take the model as it is. And I only have 10, but we've tried 20. So some work and some don't work. So this one works out of the box like this. It can, you craft and you copy and paste. That's what we did it. We did it manually. And it can be fully automated. Now here's a second example. Running through the exact same prompt, but totally different results because the ask was different. So do you have red fluffy bears in stock? I need done for my son's birthday next week. So this time the intent is stock inquiry. It's correct. The list of things that we can extract are different. Now we have the product name, fluffy bears, and we have the product color, red. And when we query, the stock is 0. So when I ask it, okay, give a reply, I just say, this was the question, and the stock is 0. And say, thank you for inquiry. Unfortunately, we don't have any fluffy bears in stock at this time. Is there anything else I can help with? So it was able to craft that message. I don't like the word understand, but kind of infer that stock 0 meant it was not in stock, that the person wanted them, so it apologized, unfortunately, and then we don't have them in stock. So this one can be automated from beginning to the end. A real case will be more complicated. There will be more intent. There will be more things to do. But at least, again, out of the box, without any training, without any fine tuning, that works in GPT. All right. I think we have time for 2 more if they're short. Semantic search and tone of voice. Let's start with tone of voice. That's pretty short. So tone of voice. So the model can do 2 things that are very interesting. The first one, it can analyze text and it can classify that text automatically. Then I'd say, yeah, there's an editorial decision to make once you've analyzed everything that you put on social media or on your own website, and then you can rewrite it, or you can use that tone of voice to do some automatic prompt in the future. So I use actually some of our blogs on our website, and I said describe the tone of voice of this article in 10 very specific words. So I just copy and paste the blog article. Again, I could automate it and analyze it if I want to automate that. Inquisitive, informative, cautionary, reflective, analytic, critical, thoughtful, objective, thorough, and balanced. Kind of like it. Second one, different. Some different words, some word in common. Third one, blah, 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 blah. Continue like this. So it's nice, very specific. I have those words. Reading through the article, they're quite good and they're quite on target for a B2B company. But it's a bit too much. So what do? Ask ChatGPT. So please, what are the 5 words that summarize those descriptions? So I feed it back all this description and narrow it down to 5 words. Informative, objective, precise, balanced, value-driven. Kind of like it. That's what we're going for. You know? But let's say we want to change it a little bit. So we make the editorial decision to change precise and balanced. And instead, we want to be actionable and authoritative. Okay? So the other are the same, so that shouldn't be, and it's not too far away, right? So now next step, what do? I rewrite my blog article and I feed it back. No, I ask ChatGPT to do that for me. I mean, GPT in that case. So first of all, I use these 5 keywords and I want to know where am I weak or where am I strong. Because remember, first, I didn't give it any instruction, but now I want to give it more guidance. So I feed it back those 5 words. So give me a rating from 0 to 10 on these 5 words. I copy my blog article, it gives me 9, 10, 8, 8, 9. So no surprise, the 2 words that I want to change, they are not the strongest. It's kind of consistent, right? So now, please rewrite this paragraph to be more actionable, authoritative. So I just give it a paragraph because the blog is too long. So can you rewrite this and make it more actionable, authoritative? So it's changing very few words, actually. So instead of, it reorganized the first sentence, and it says must capitalize, a bit more authoritative, right? Later down, must leverage. So business have understood, but now it says must leverage. This will enable. So very subtle change. I played with also, you can give it a tone of voice completely different. You can make it funny, you can have it to insert jokes. They're not always the best jokes, but you can go 180 degree, which is not very practical. But you also can be, the way we saw it, you can be very, very subtle into the rewriting. Meaning is there, ideas are there. Basically nothing is changed. The tone of voice has been slightly altered by the algorithm. All right, and then last but not least, we go for semantic search that I even got a higher percentage now. So semantic search. So one Sunday morning, I decided to encode the Bible. So I took the Bible in English, 66 books, 31,000 verse, almost a million token, almost a million words. And then, yes, I didn't go all the way through. I want to be able to generate sermons for an electronic priest. Because in a lot of regions in Europe, they don't have enough priests. So if a priest could generate a sermon, that would be great, right? We've seen already that. So the thing is, if you want to write a sermon, you need a theme. And based on this theme, you're going to find verses into the Bible. So this is what we're going to be. So first, I look for marital counsel. Gave me 3 verses. And some have the word counsel, some have the word wife, some have the word husband, some have the word marry. So you see that they are contextual, they are semantic. This is not keyword search. And this is a big difference between this technology and everything we had so far. It's not keyword based, it's really semantic. Right? Then I ask for fair punishment. So again, some have punishment. So if we're talking about punishment, then it still finds it because it's the same word. But the second one talks about equity, justice, and righteousness. Semantic context, but not at all the same words. And penalties for punishment, scoffers, I don't really know what they are. Beating the backs of fools, that sounds like a fair punishment to me. Yeah. Financial investment. Are there financial investment advice in the Bible? Yes, there are. Increases wealth, give wealth, treasuries, profit, getting silver, find gold. Again, not at all those keywords, but the meaning is there. And finally, I wanted to find a joke in the Bible. So as for a good joke, there are no good jokes. Couldn't find them. So we're talking about joy, talking about laugh, fools mocking, atonement for sins. That's not really a good joke. So I said maybe there are bad jokes in the Bible, and yes, there are bad jokes. A worthless mind devises mischief. That's a bad joke. I am like one who is a joke to his neighbor. That's a bad joke as well. He's the man who deceives his neighbor. Also a bad joke. So there are no good jokes, but there are bad jokes in the Bible. Yeah. So this is just to illustrate in a funny way the fact that these are not keyword-based, but really semantic, really based on the meaning. And you can find unexpected things in the Bible. Of course, I don't think that's anybody's job to write sermons, but you can find that in large knowledge base where you have today to look for the right keyword and you never find it, and you can never find that document because somebody called it planning instead of schedule. Never happened to you, right? If we can leverage semantic search, if you say schedule, it will find schedule, it will find planning, it will find project plan, it will find everything that is connected semantically, right? So that's it for me. My conclusion, if you're a skilled professional and you use AI technology, you will produce high quality work faster and cheaper. Somebody who is not that skilled, you give them AI, they do more shitty work faster, better. Not better, faster, and produce more work. Yeah. So now I'll give the floor to my dear friend Guoqing. I did all the boring use case. Now she's going to do the fun use cases, the creative use cases. Right. Thank you very much. And let's round of applause to Guoqing.
Thanks for having me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Qing. I'm the founder of brand entrepreneur in short. So today my topic will be covering how in the age of this revolutionary change in the AI, and then also in terms of how we use it and how we embrace those changes or resist those changes, and what does it impact our business, especially I'm in the creative field, so my topic was more surrounding on the creativity and then service businesses. Just a little bit introduction about myself. So I had my background in psychology. That's where I had my most interest was around the people side of the story versus the technology side. So basically in the, let's say, past over 12 years, I've been mostly focused on developing brands or help international brands localize in China, and then help them to position and deliver the consumer insights and then back to in their business decision making loop, and then be able to connect their business with people here. On the other side, I also help Chinese companies to expand overseas, and then in a way we call ourselves bridge maker on the brand. So that was just a little bit of me. So this was actually the key inspiration of my presentation. Can AI really replace creativity? Since I've been in the creative business for quite a long time, and then I thought I've been always told that AI cannot replace creativity, and I deeply believe it until pretty recently I saw those very significant or very surprising changes or revolution that's been happening. So how many of you actually now change your mind or already believe that AI can replace human creativity? How many of you? Oh, many. Actually, yeah, that's it's good to know. More and more people believe that AI can do more than what we can ever imagine. So for me, that I really start to have a lot of doubt about our own business, and then that's why today's topic on reinvent creativity, and then also our service. Okay, so just a little bit of introduction on what exactly we do. Basically, from the insights and then until the strategy, concept, and activation. That's a full service scope of how we usually provided our service. It's basically every steps in building the brands and then grow and develop. And then we have practiced across a quite wide range of, let's say, industries. And as long as it's about how to better communicate to people, then we're in there. And regardless, it's a B2B or B2C side. So this was just a little bit of background information. And then I want to get into the topic and then how we actually experimented with the current AI tool and then apply that into our normal project or business processes. I mean, by no means that we are actually using it to generate profit. We are not there. It's only about how we actually explored different tools and then to either to be more productive or to understand how these AI tools can strengthen our work, and then also for us to understand for future what changes might needed in that aspect. So these are the four, let's say, there are actually dozens or hundreds of different options out there if you look at the AI tools these days on different aspects of business or life. And these are the four major ones that we are currently exploring and also practicing and training on. And then also because of the business we're in, so with copywriting and with image generation and then PPT, PowerPoint generation, that's often one of our very, very important deliverable, but we realize with these tools can be done pretty well and close to end finishing, which has saved a lot of time. And then we wish our clients know that too. So this was a tool really worth exploring. And then Notion AI is a tool that widely promoted in the creative field. that creative people use to manage their productivity and then projects, and then basically all in one desktop productivity tool. But since last year, they incorporated this AI language model. So they started to be able to provide a lot of copywriting inside that tool, which creative people found at one time you can manage your task, but on the other side, they can manage the content. So which really works very well with Notion AI. Okay, so the first example was we explored how to use ChatGPT to create Chinese brand names. That's part of let's say one of our services that we provide, especially when we're helping international brands to localize in China. And then the step one is to have a sound, nice name that to be registered as a trademark, number one, and the second to be able to create a great, let's say, brand value around this name, and then or help to deliver the brand message in the name. So quite often it's a challenging task. How we create a name. Usually we have at least 5 or 6 steps of process to do. And then today the demonstration how we use the AI into this, it's particularly about the number 2. So in step 2, that's where we need to create a lot of name options in order to be able to, let's say, survive for the whole process, maybe making into 1 or 2 trademark registrable names. And then how many we need to create? Usually we need to create, in the past, when we got a project like this, at least 50, 100, or sometimes 150, depends on which category, whether it's very competitive or not. And then in this first ideation phase, in the number 2, we needed to have 3 copywriters to work at least 5 days on creating a lot of options. And then, but with AI, with the ChatGPT, we discovered, that we can do probably in the, a quarter of that time, and then maybe just 2 copywriters max to fulfill what we needed to have. So I'm giving an example. Hosvela, it's a Norwegian fashion brand that they needed a Chinese brand name in China to enter this new market. They've been very popular in the online e-commerce, mostly in the Norwegian country, and then when selling most of it online as well. So to have a Chinese trademark name is a step 1 for them to be actually able to sell through e-commerce, and then because all of them require trademark registration as a step 1. So that's the number 1 task we had. Just on this name in itself, it's not an English name, so it's a little bit difficult for a Chinese to pronounce it correctly. But Hosvela, it's name we needed to create a very phonetically close sound to the pronunciation of yourself in the Chinese character. So the ideal Chinese trademark name is the ideal trademark name. It needs to sound like the original English or original brand name itself. And then on the second level, it needs to have phonetic, meaningful meaning that is close to the value of the brand or the style of the brand. And then, so we need to have 2 levels all built up into the 4 characters. That's basically the challenge of every Chinese name creation. On top of that, it has to be available for registration, which is sometimes mission impossible. So basically, with the ChatGPT, we asked the first question: can you think of 20 Chinese names for brand Hosvela? That was really just a first try without expecting anything, and then they very quickly, in the split seconds, there were 20 different options. And then we look at names, and the first character is all mu, which is tree. And I believe hos in Swedish language means mu or tree, woods. So it literally translated everything. So that's definitely not what we wanted because the client would not approve. It does not sound like a horse, first of all. So, and then the moo is not in their DNA at all. So we completely skip these options and it's not there. But we're already surprised by how quick and fast they can write so many options. This is almost like a half day of our copywriter's job. So just let you know how intensive it can be. And then, so the second prompt, we said, okay, remove moo, the first character. We really don't want that. Give us more options. And then it comes like a double moo. It's double tree. So they cannot get away from the meaning of the first part of the character, first part of pronunciation, the word itself, and then still stays very close to the right answer, let's say. So then, okay, let's try the other. And we asked 20 name options for brand host well without the character Lin, the double moo, and with a fashionable sound because it's a fashion brand. It's not a furniture or wood or type of. Sorry? Ah, okay. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. And then, so we're just broadly exploring, see how quickly they can get our message, and then, but also without closing the end, because in the creative process, we needed to have open options to see all kinds of possibilities. We cannot, as what Stefan explained, as precise as possible. But for the creative work, you need to adapt a different approach. You keep it open, but not too open. You keep it closed, but not too close. So I hope that makes sense. So here the result we got, we did not like it at all because we were surprised by what fashionable sounds. But in the end, they sounds like a very cheesy farm girl's name. So, so this would not approve inside our team as well. And then in the end, we want to try something else. 20 names with the options that sounds like its pronunciation, because we want to. Wow, this is probably a less creative approach to ask the option to come up with a name that is just phonetically similar, with, and then it's actually easy option to create that because you just search in the character pool that any word that sounds like a host Bella, and then will fit. So we get a number of options, and then they're actually close to what we want. At least level 1 criteria is met. They all have a phonetic sound similarity with the original name. But they're all 4 characters. This is like too much. So, well, most of the time our clients really prefer 2 characters. That's the most easy and then memorable name options for marketing communication. And then 3 is it's a compromise. 4 is difficult. Okay, so then we ask them to come up with 3 characters, and then these are 3 characters, but you only come up with 10. So not so many options as we're narrowed down. But these are already, have probably by building up what's already been prompted, it has that fashionable image or sound like, and then 3 characters, and then they sound like the host fella itself. So these are getting close. And then of course we continue to explore a lot of to use the other prompts and then to create enough options for us to take to the next step. And then in fact, this is just examples to what we have to create, and then a single addition D, and then this is are the proved result. Of course, not by ChatGPT. This is what's previous result, all made by human labor power. But those are the options that which we seem as ideal, and then the shorter the better. And well, sometimes it has 4 characters, but it needs to match the DNA of the original brand name, and then also working for your communication strategy, everything. And then so just to explain, is it enough that GTP create out so many name options so we can, do name creation ourselves by anyone and then just move forward and saving a lot of cost on, producing and then screening it? I think what I mentioned on that step was only on step 2. We are able to use ChatGPT for a lot of ideation on the let's say building database of options. And then that's for us is almost just step 1. We still have more steps of going to name trademark checking, and then and also strategic matching, and then testing phase with consumers, and then also with the registration itself. So usually we needed to have at least like 8 to 10 options that has a 70 or 80% of registration success rate. And I hope one day that ChatGPT will be, let's say, incorporate the data of trademark checking, and then so where the name is being created is automatically being checked in the data system, say it's available or not, because that would be really ideal. And then I think on that day, our clients, they can really create names themselves. So I think, and technically, it's not the most difficult in implementation if that's going to happen. And then we definitely will lose that part of the business. So we're no longer to be, how to say, competitive. Yeah, this is, I can definitely foresee that part. But before that, we still have the opportunity and also expertise to understand better what works for the brand. And then that's a unique solution now, what our clients is looking for. So so that's so far. So another example is more, it's still a bit of a copy-based, because when we work for different brands, and then we also work for a creative concept on campaigns, and then help them to develop communication messaging. And then even a new creative design, which we have to work on providing a base creative narratives, and before we go into design. So with the Shangri-La, it's a really good example that we both explore the creative campaigns and then also packaging designs. And then since we've won many times of the same pitches or similar on similar brief, and then we want to see if we can repeat this success by keep using the AI to learn what we've developed, and then therefore for them to enhance our, let's say, results, and then in a different approach or more of which they are able to create more options and then for us to use. So just a quick demonstration of what we have developed before. So these are the festival designs based on each unique creative concept that or storyline that we develop. Sometimes it's about the traditional, icons and dragons, and we make it into a story. And then sometimes it's about the graphic patterns. And then these are the campaign visuals for each of the different festivals. And then before we make into all these designs, we actually have to write the stories of how, this rabbit is coming from the moon and going to the, coming back to the earth and visit family and share this mooncake. And then the dragon boat is this dragon exploring the mystery forest and then going to a mountain. So you probably heard a lot about how ChatGPT and then other AI tools can help you to generate stories. And then we really want to use that and then see what happens. Okay, so this time, as I mentioned, Notion AI. I know topic was mostly about ChatGPT, but see how Notion AI is also is able to provide you a great creative tools and where you can, which you can put into the daily use. So ask a question, act as a creative. This is important because we need to set the scene so they know who they are and then in what context. Can you please develop campaign ideas for the upcoming Shangri-La's Dragon Boat Festival? this was just an experiment. It was not the final result in that, because it's still quite a few more steps to move to reach that goal. So we were quite surprised about how structural they can be. Sometimes even more structural than our creatives. Our creatives, when they put ideas, they just write a lot of things, but not in the order with the proper title or narratives. They just put the idea, everywhere, and then trying to make sense of the whole keywords that they were putting on. But here they actually have a title, and it has narratives, and they give you different options, and which for us was quite refreshing to see. So they're being so organized. So these ideas were kind of standards, and we like how broad or different the ideas are, but it's not really sophisticated. It's just very simple, and then you can call it boring sometimes for the creatives. And then we wanted more idea, and then basically just for them to go a little bit broader, and then we want to see how what's the bottom line for how far they can go. Which they did bring some very different ideas, like Discover the Dragon Secrets, and then the Race to the Top, which is quite different from what we usually do. And in fact, by going through this process, and our creative got inspired. And then so they can continue one or two routes. And then this is really the very hopeful point to mention. And then on the other hand, we, as I mentioned, that we don't want to close and or open too much. But at this time, we want to bring back to what has really worked for our clients, the few keywords, key messaging that we need to bring into the campaign concept or narrative. So in this case, in the Dragon Boat Festival, it's more about summer blessing, save the taste of heritage. These were key messaging. So we asked them to incorporate in this. And then the story becomes more elaborated with those keywords. And then we liked it, and we explore further on, okay, how about adding the taste of fairyland? And then we want to see how further, how much further they can go, but by putting a full picture into the narrative. And these are actually pretty good for, well, the title was not so ideal, but the narrative gets better in terms of storytelling. And then, of course, I won't need to go into details, but as I mentioned, just like the name, we need to create a database of options. And then same with the creative concept and narratives. These are really good for starting up, thinking about ideas. And then usually we definitely need to have 3 days just for our creatives to brainstorm with themselves. And then before we're meeting together to go through everybody's ideas. And then this definitely can be done in half day or 1 day. So theoretically, this really saves us a lot of time on going through, browsing randomly on the internet and then searching for ideas. And this is really quick. I wouldn't say this is directly to the solution because you still need to have a creative to understand what's the the right relevant context into in answering our clients' questions. So I would really say, no matter what business you are in or which stage you're with your business, and then go explore different tools and then see what those tools can do for you, your life or your business. You might be surprised with what you can, what they can help, and then what they can do for you. Yeah. So on the other side is on the more visual side. I haven't come to this part. Of course, there are many other tools that has been really hotly engaged. This Made Journey, I think every let's say designers or freelancers, and then they've been proudly presenting their everyday experiments on the social media and say, oh, I did this with Mid Journey, and see how magical. And then they can achieve the results, and then sometimes they say, oh, I'm really worried about my job because maybe the company would not hire me for freelancing jobs, and just because in the past we hire freelancers really for ideation. Not necessary to close the project, but ideation was a really important part. So that's why they are very, very much concerned about how their role would be in the future. And then I also see that happening as much as we are trying to cut costs by cut costs and doing less and then getting more, but probably our clients is also thinking about how can we get rid of service vendors and do things ourselves. And then I'm not questioning. I guess that day would come in sometime sooner or later, but it's really a time that also urges us to understand what are the changes that's happening, and then what it does mean to our business, and then to our network of service providers and the inside company and outside. So I think it's very necessary to stay aware on that aspect. This was another example. A friend of us, it was done. The render was done in a split second of a very ugly, messy home place, and then it's one tap, and then you get a very clean look, and then you know what to do next for your home. So it was a very interesting post sent from my friend. I don't know, some of you have seen this. So the context is not going to be between AI versus humans. It's going to be between humans with AIs versus human without AIs. So I think this is what's very interesting message for all of us. But what if we all have the AI, and then how does it going to make us different from each other? So the key is to know how to ask questions. It's about basically asking questions is how you write your prompts. So I don't know if you noticed there are many new I would say job posts out there. They're asking for prompt writers or prompt engineers. This is a new jobs being created. So we're not losing jobs, but having more jobs offered. So really the key is to know how to ask questions, and then this really reminds us when we are serving our clients and doing the project, then we really ask them a lot of questions from the beginning, and then in order to help them to find the right approach to solution. And then I think on that part probably is the skill that would not easily replace. Because that the way you ask a question is built from your experience and built from your emotional connection with people, and then also a lot of even the message comes from the environment or from the the weather, from the sky, everything that comes to plays part in terms of how you which angle you choose to ask a question, and then in what perspective, and then. Even when you think about when you have a certain desired answer, and then you ask the different questions, and then that can also change from day to day. So really, to understand how to ask a question is really going to be the skill that are going to differentiate us quite a lot in the short term. I don't know in the future. Maybe we don't even need to ask questions. Someday. So here are some quick formulas for people if, for the ChatGPT, if you're interested in how to answer or formulate a better prompt. And then this is the kind of the Bible for prompt writer. Can have a screenshot of this. Okay, so I personally really believe that AI is going to shape our service business from task-oriented to not only solution-oriented, but holistic solution-oriented. The reasons for that, we see the potential that AI tools on different types of tools is going to really, improve our task process, and then potentially task results. And But what it cannot achieve yet is about more complex situations, more complex strategic planning or thoughts or things that involves emotions and things that involves your personal experience, or things need to be customized into different settings as a solution to your clients or in your personal life. So that's why I would say holistic solution oriented is about understanding the big picture, not only focusing on the service in the one single task. For example, that now and in the past we were able to provide quite a lot of service in terms of brand building, but we can also tap into the service from every unit that builds around this circle loop, and we can start working from the products, start working from the campaign, start working from the stores, and then there's a lot of windows into the loop. But I think in the future, many of the windows can possibly be being developed by our clients themselves using AI tools or by their own learning. But in the understanding of everything as a bigger picture may not be so easy, and then to be customized and also tailored into their own situation. So I believe there are a lot of challenges, but we're basically being pushed by the AI tools and then how this revolution to another level of understanding business or building business. And for ourselves, I don't know, we're boldly thinking or anxiously thinking that maybe we have to start from selling the branding services to selling brands. It's shorter and and also needs to be more efficient, and then but a more holistic solution that cannot be easily replaced by AI tools. I mean, if we still want to be remain competitive and be valuable in the marketplace, yeah, it's just a lot of. This is actually the conclusion, but also a question for everybody to think about. What's the situation or a scenario that could happen in your own business, and then what might be the journey if you are embracing this technology, and then let's say in the close 1 or 2 years time, what can happen, and 3 to 5 or 5 to 10. So I think, putting that into perspective will, in a way, help us to get a lot of clarity in terms of how what kind of decision we do now and then later. Okay, I think that's the end of my presentation.
No.
Do we have questions online or even inside the room? Don't hesitate to ask your question now. Yeah.
Hello. Which of these products are the AI products are available now in China? Because basically, OpenAI is not available so far. You need a foreign phone number to actually access it. So which of these are actually accessible?
Actually, apart from ChatGPT, all others are available.
Okay.
By subscription and small subscription fund. And the ChatGPT, it's a unique one, and
so
you need some extra tools to.
But through the Microsoft implementation, global companies have access to it.
Okay.
So in a secure way. So that's one way. If you have a headquarter outside of China and they've registered, so DALI and all the GPT model are available. So there's a waiting list because there's very high demand, and I think they're just deploying the hardware. But then there are other products that are. I mean, somehow the key thing was for somebody to prove that it was possible. And now that everybody knows it's possible, competitors are coming into the market. So ChatGPT is a bit head start for sure. There's an open source model that was released, I think, yesterday from Stability AI. So now they have their Stability LM. You can download it. You can do it by yourself. And I think more are still going to come. I don't know. Maybe they will still get ahead, they get heads up. But that's the thing. You have to keep looking, and you have to keep looking at the news because it's changing almost every day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Just before that, a very quick question, a precision on your part, Stéphane. The version you use is ChatGPT 4?
3.5.
Okay, someone asked. Okay, next one.
I'm not sure I understand when you're saying, so ChatGPT is not connected to a database, but it has been trained to. So where is the difference? Because when we ask questions to ChatGPT, obviously, yeah, it has information that it got somehow. So
it's kind of the difference between your memory of your favorite book and the book itself. So you may remember some sentences, you remember the story, you can your favorite book, you can tell me the story. And if I ask you to write like a 2 or 5 page to describe the book, then you describe it. But doesn't mean you have the book with you. That's kind of the best analogy I can figure out. I don't know if it's a good one. No?
Then, yeah, yes, I think it's very interesting. I understand that, yeah. And then can you connect ChatGPT to a specific database or proprietary?
I think that's the whole thing. So again, our presentations are different, and I think it's really interesting. The way we use it is very different. So we are looking at it from the angle of automation. So we're looking at it into processing language and making it something that computer can understand, and then giving back language to a user. So we want this to be fully automated. So in that regard, the language model is going to be like one step in the process, or two, or the first step, and the second, and the third, and maybe the last, and maybe the 10th one. Right. So, and we want to put it in place so that it can cover maybe 30% of the cases, then 40, then 60, then 70. Yeah. So in that case, yes, the integration is going to be critical to have it part of a process, of an end-to-end process.
From what I understand is that now ChatGPT is actually investing a lot of end user tools like robot companies, and then all kinds of end use, let's say, machines, and then also end user products. And then so those products can actually employ the ChatGPT's the language models, the system, to enhance or strengthen this end user tools, like robots, and then even cooking machines, and then all kinds of. That's what's been. Yeah.
It's kind of the hyper the new version and way enhanced version of Siri at the end, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who have an iPhone, you know how sometimes Spirit really doesn't get what you're trying to say, right? GPT, so there's the voice to text, and then that text you can give to GPT, and then GPT has a way better understanding of what's happening. I mean, again, I don't like to use the word understanding, but will react in a way better way to what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. I see perplexity, but I mean it's not easy to grasp. I've tried to simplify it, but it's not easy to understand what it is. You know. Monty. Oh, sorry.
Where are we in terms of copywriting right now? Because we see that, for example, like ChatGPT, you can ask him to write a book for you, create images, but also now, like you have, like I think this week they released like a song between, like, it was Drake and The Weeknd, and it's like booming. Everybody loves it, but where's the copyright in that?
The copyright of the creation.
Yeah.
That's really a controversial issue. I think.
Give your answer first.
Yeah.
As a creative.
Indeed. I think in our industry there's no original the original version. It's always being you took inspiration from existing things and then you recreate make it suitable for the new scenario or new situation. So for sure that we always need to be careful with how we get those information. Make sure it's not directly putting into the solution, but what is the let's say the logic was the same, that we use the tools to create ideas, but we use this idea to make into solutions. So in terms of copywriting and then this legal matters, if I think usually in our service we still apply the same rules as long as we don't copy exactly the same, and then that's okay. But on the other side, the technical legal matters is
so first,
sure of.
yeah. So first, is your question about copywriting or copywriting?
Copyright.
The second one, right? So in my point of view from what Qing has demonstrated is that all the good stuff was coming from her and her team. And if you see the way she did it, and again, completely different from the use cases I demonstrated, where I'm trying to automate things, so I want them to work in every cases. But she was going like this, no, a little bit more like that. And then she was like doing open and close. And I think all the creative ideas were coming from there. It's just that it's faster and multiplied by the power of the technology. And that's why, if you remember my last slide, if you have a good team like Qing's team, they're going to do more good work faster. If you have a bad team, they're just going to do more bad work faster with the same technology. So for me, from everything I've seen, and same thing from Midjourney, we organized another presentation with a graphic designer, and the guy he had 200 red rabbits, but he was the one to say, okay, I choose this one. And the human chose it. And then he did other rabbits. He put the AI rabbit together with other rabbits made by humans, show it to the customer, and the customer chose the AI rabbit. But he chose it in 200 because for image generation, you get more faster. So it's kind of like more ideas, but in those more ideas, there are a lot of really bad stuff. Yeah. So I think the creativity is kind of instilled step by step. And as Qing was explaining, it saves you like a kind of sucking things from the universe and all of that. So it's just accelerating the process. But the creativity for me is still coming from the graphic designer, from the copywriter, from the person who is thinking in terms of brand image, from saying, okay, it's not 4 words, it should be 3 words, it should sound like this, it should sound like that. So it's just that creativity is way much more concentrated and more efficient. That's my point of view. Yeah.
You look super handsome, and I'm going to be like, okay, I use Stefan to duplicate you and to become like a teacher, right? Without your consent, and then I'll make. So basically, that's what they're doing right now. So you think? I mean, the law is not up to date at the moment.
So I think you're talking about deepfakes. So deepfakes, the thing is, it's way faster to make deepfakes. Now, if you wanted to, and there were deepfakes, and probably some we didn't even know they were fake, it just took a lot of time to do and create like image by image. I mean, I've seen people fly. It was called Superman when I was a kid. That was fake as well, right? So now it's just more efficient to do this fake stuff. So people who want to make fake stuff, they can make fake stuff. They're just more efficient at their work today. Yeah. But the problem is to say for me, it doesn't change the problem. Yeah.
So I had a question about one of the slides where you talked about write a polite message or polite email. How does it know what's polite? Because that's a value judgment. And that got me thinking about what kind of biases, cultural biases, or otherwise get built into these databases.
So all the models have a bias because they have like kind of one reference, right? So they have it can be very large because they've been trained with a very large set of images or text, but they will have biases. So this is why there's this option in those models to fine tune them. So first, you need to understand their bias. They all have one. There's no way to build a model that doesn't have a bias. So you have to experiment with it. See, okay, I'm okay with that bias. I can live with it, or I don't. So if you don't, then you have to work on the model and you have to change it into what you want it to be. Yeah. But then it will have a bias that you like or that is applicable to your business or to your company culture. It's still going to be biased, and it's still not going to be the one that I need for my company or somebody else needs for their company. Yeah. There's no way to build on something as large and as complex as language. There's no way to build it. And same thing with text. So text image, I made another presentation of text to image. It also has some very strong biases. Yeah. Okay. Any more question online or?
Okay, one last question here.
Okay.
Can you explain the step between like the normal AI, everyone who might have got some little interest to understand like image recognition and recognize a number from an image, to the architecture of this GPT? Can you give some brief hints?
So how we go from neural networks, we recognize 0 from 1 to this one. Yeah. So with a lot of silicium, right? So way much more computing power. And again, if you remember my slide, so you could imagine that you have like kind of cards where you have every possible beginning of sentences in the world, and then you have your percentage at the end, right? So I could give you all these cards, which are in the trillions. So when you look at those models, they have like trillions of parameters. So it's kind of like how many cards they have, right? And then you have that percentage. So you can imagine yourself playing that role. So I give you the cards for the Norwegian language. And then somebody talks to you in Norwegian, you see the words, and you're like, okay, the next word can be this. Then you go to the next card that has the beginning of the sentence plus that word, and then you find the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. Right? So this is the end product that you need to be able to reply in Norwegian. So of course you're going to be very slow because you have to flip through those trillions of cards, and the computer can do that. Right? So now what is called reinforced learning. So reinforced learning, you start with blank cards and you try to figure out what these cards should be. So you speak Norwegian. So you have blank cards and you kind of start randomly writing on those cards. So at the beginning, you don't speak Norwegian at all. But then I give you a Norwegian text and you say, okay, if the cards I have, can I give the correct answer in Norwegian? And you're like, no. So then you start to make some corrections. So this is the learning phase, the reinforced learning phase of the algorithm. They start to erase and rewrite those cards, and the next step they're like, I have one word correct, and everything is wrong. You know, so the fifth word is correct. So I have something that starts to look like Norwegian, and it's hundreds and thousands of iteration. So that at the end, you can speak Norwegian. I mean, you can reply, you can have a discussion in Norwegian. So it's the same principle. So it says same principle as reinforced learning. After internally, it's using different representation. So the tokens, you saw on the Bible one, I'm talking about tokens. So these tokens is how you encode the language. So how you go from just like the key is to know, to ask questions, dot, how you represent that so that the machine can digest it a little bit easier. Yeah. I mean, without going into too many details, that's how far as I can go without everybody falling asleep, I think.
Okay. We're running out of time, but okay.
Thank you. So when you talked about making names, right, translating names for a brand, I immediately thought about Airbnb. And if anybody knew about that story, the Chinese name became the laughing stock of the industry in China for many, 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 many months. And so they didn't change the name at the end, sadly. So actually, the reason why it became a laughing stock among Chinese people was because the Chinese name of Airbnb It sounds exactly like the English name phonetically. But then in the Chinese meaning, well, the words are fine. But then the meaning, when they all combined together, it sounded stupid. So everybody laughed at it for a very long time. And so that actually plays in the cultural context that probably ChatGPT actually it connects to, adds on to the question that you asked about a culture, a bias, yes. In which context or under which culture is it considered stupid or offensive? So how do you leverage ChatGPT in that aspect? Thank you.
It's a very tricky question, actually. I mean, the tricky challenge, because in fact, when RMBB launched their names, and then they liked the name just for the literal translation, and then also the phonetic link that these characters can be. They did not think of this. Well, let's say they did not do the disaster check. Okay, so usually in our process we definitely do the disaster check, just to we need to ask people from different parts of the country, and then with their local dialects, and then if this word is being pronounced in their dialect, whether it ends up in something really bad or nasty, and so which will have a very negative impact, right? And then so I would say back then when they had this name created, it was a very let's say it was the companies or it was a very human decision on which one to go for. It was not a machine decision or recommendation on what to go for. So same with in the future for the name creation, and then we can prompt them to say, these are the options that we want, and we do not want to have a name that sounds like this or that, have negative impact or phonetic association in certain areas. So that probably the machine has to learn about the negative association of certain sound. If they do not have that language or knowledge in the model, we have to prompt them so to avoid this kind of possibility. But in the end, no matter what kind of options they create, it's up to human to decide which one to use and which one that you feel is the solution to your business to push to the market. And I think there's always a human side behind everything. And human make mistakes. And then that's why AI can actually help us to eliminate the mistakes, and then make a perfect grammar, and then at least we're not on the side of making such mistakes anymore, maybe. Yeah, but the other bias will continue to exist until the machine learns how to clear up those bias. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you, Stefan. Thank you, team, for sharing your insight tonight. And for everyone offline, I invite you to keep talking all together through a glass of wine. And thanks as well for the online participants tonight to have joined us. And looking forward to seeing you all to our upcoming event. Thank you.